Just as there are physical laws that govern the natural world, such as gravity and motion, there are universal laws that govern the flow of energy and consciousness. Imagine having the keys to unlock the secrets of the universe. Well, actually, there's 12 of them. And today we're going to talk about how you can use them in order to manifest. Hey, you beautiful souls. So the idea of manifestation and vibes and energy often gets dismissed as new age nonsense or woo-woo, but it's actually rooted in ancient teachings, which is now being backed by modern day sciences. So today we're going to talk about the 12 universal laws, how it applies to manifestation, and how you can use them as a guidebook to build that bright, beautiful life that you desire. So to anybody who's never been here before, hi, I'm Elizabeth Blackwell, and I've spent well over a decade educating myself so that I can help others heal and find their highest and greatest selves. So let's jump into how you can use the 12 universal laws to manifest anything you desire. So I really look at the 12 universal laws as my rule book for energy, spirituality, manifestation. And I could go on and on about the history of them and how they're now rooted in modern day sciences. But truthfully, this is going to be a longer one. So let's jump right into what the 12 universal laws are and how you can use them in order to manifest whatever you desire. So the first law is the law of divine oneness. And this comes down to a couple of basic principles. The first is that we all and everything in the universe comes from one spark of creation. Now, you could look at this as God or a divine creator, the Big Bang. The labels don't matter, and that's much more personal about what your beliefs are. But it is the understanding that everything in the universe comes from one point of creation, and that then everything within the universe is interconnected. So then we have the understanding that everything in the universe is interconnected. This gives us the basis for how our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors could be connected to something completely external to us. And without getting too sciencey about it, but this is now being proven within quantum physics of that understanding of quantum entanglement and how a particle on one side of the world, or let's say a person on one side of the world, could be connected with or in some way influence somebody who's on the opposite side of the world, because everything has that divine connection. So the second of the laws is the law of vibration. And this states that every particle in the universe has movement and energy exchange. So this includes everything from all physical objects, our thoughts, our emotions, our physical bodies. So vibration is the movement of those particles, and then frequency is the rate at which those particles move. So higher frequencies are associated with more positive and uplifting things, and lower frequencies are associated with more negative or destructive things. But everything in the universe is in a constant state of movement, and things are constantly exchanging of energy. So to put more of a practical side to this, it's that when you understand that our thoughts and our emotions are nothing more than electrical impulses that are flowing through our brains and our bodies. And so as far as manifestation goes, when you start to understand that everything in the universe has a frequency and a vibration, then you start to see where we can influence those frequencies and vibrations in order to create the reality that we desire. So the third law is the law of correspondence. And this can most simply be summed up with as above, so below. As within, so without. But what this really comes down to is the relationship between the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. So to simplify this a little bit further, it's that understanding that our external reality is a mirror of our internal self. And then we can very much see how this would lead to manifestation, especially with the phrasing of we manifest not what we desire, but what we are. So it's that understanding of aligning everything that we are energetically with our desired external reality. If you've stuck with me so far, consider subscribing, because I put out content all the time on how to heal and create that bright, beautiful life that you desire. And if this is serving you, consider hitting that like button as well, because it helps this content to get out to other individuals. So the fourth law is the one that most people are familiar with, which is the law of attraction. And I don't think I need to dive too deep into this, but this is the understanding that energy attracts like energy. And we could go on for hours about this, but we can clearly see within manifestation how that whatever we energetically are will then attract to us that similar energy, and that we can affect what that frequency and vibration is, which is what makes up energy, by our thoughts, our words, our behaviors. So by aligning what our thoughts, words, behaviors, our energy is, that we can attract what our desired outcomes are. The fifth law is the law of inspired action. This is basically the bridge between the more mental or spiritual side and the physical side of things. This is basically an understanding that we've got to meet the universe halfway. That even if we have perfectly aligned ourselves energetically with whatever it is that we want, that we have to take the action steps towards those desires. That the universe is not just going to drop things in our lap, but that we have to physically take the action steps towards whatever it is that we want. And then to take this a little deeper into manifestation, this is inspired action. When we have aligned ourselves energetically with what we desire, that we will get those nudges towards whatever it is that our action steps are, that we will feel a pull towards things that already resonate with the energy that we've aligned ourselves with. The sixth law is the perpetual transmutation of energy. So that is a mouthful, but the simplified way of understanding this is that everything in the universe is in a constant state of movement and change, that the only constant around us is change, and that it is constantly moving from one area to another, whether that is on a microcosm of very slight movements or a macrocosm of very large movements, but that everything is in a constant state of fluctuation or change. And when it comes to manifestation, how this really tracks back is that we have the ability to change who we are, our energy, how we feel, our emotions, all of those things that we can change them from one to another, and that we are in control of what that change is. So, and I always like to put in here when talking about this particular law, that this is really giving us the understanding that we are not a victim of our circumstances, that we have the power to change anything that we desire. This is where I always go back to my saying of when you take responsibility for having created the life that you are in, it gives you the power to create any reality that you desire. So the seventh law is the law of cause and effect. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. We clearly understand this in the physical world. This is understanding it in the energetic world. And what I like to point out when explaining this is that nothing happens by chance, that everything happens for a reason, even the negative stuff, that it doesn't come about simply because we're living in chaos, but there is a reason behind it, especially when we are trying to manifest things. Sometimes things come along to us and we view them as negative, but that they are there for a reason, and in some way that they will help us get to whatever it is that we are trying to manifest or bring about. Number 9 is the law of compensation. This is the idea that we receive whatever it is that we put out into this universe. This is really about the balance of giving and receiving, and that in the big picture of the universe, that the scales will always balance. So then this, of course, leads into the concept of manifestation, that what we put out into the universe is what we are going to receive back to us. So I completely messed that up. Number 8 was the law of compensation. Number 9 is the law of relativity. You will have to forgive me. I've had 90 interruptions, and to tell you the truth, I'm very tired. I was supposed to be vacationing this week, but a hurricane hit where I was supposed to be at. So I don't know why that I'm not meant to be on the beach relaxing this week, but this is a perfect example of where I just trust and follow. Number 9 is the law of relativity. This is the idea that nothing exists in isolation, and it is only by the comparison that we can truly understand things. So as a more real world example, that we can only understand the really, really good when we've been through the really, really bad. But I like to bring it around to a little bit more holistic of a picture. So when we are going through struggles, that we know we are struggling because we have experienced the positive or the more positive side of things. And that if we hit points where we feel like we are at rock bottom, ultimate struggles, however you want to phrase it, that then we know that we have no place to go but up. And it helps us to concentrate our focus and our energy on the direction that we want to go. And so to bring this a little bit deeper into manifestation is that this law really helps to give us perspective, that we can choose to play a victim mindset and sit in the negative, or we can choose to shift our focus towards growth, that it is completely up to us on where our focus is. But it really helps to give us a unique perspective and look at our journey as being a blessing, even when it doesn't feel that way. And this really leads into number 10, which is the law of polarity, which is within this universe, our 3D realm, that opposites exist. For every negative, there is a positive. For every down, there is an up. For every dark, there is a light. That it is only by understanding the opposites that we truly see the full spectrum of life. And to bring this one a little bit more around to manifestation, it is that understanding of challenges as an opportunity for growth. That whatever it is that we are trying to get to, that there may be a lesson that we need to have in order to get there. So when we experience challenges or setbacks, that then we can focus on what potentially went wrong, or what did we need to experience, or what did we need to learn, so that we can then shift our focus to stay in the direction that we want to go. And it gives us that complete understanding of the journey as we get to the reality that we are trying to create. Number 11 is the law of rhythm, that everything in this universe follows a pattern and a cycle, that within the world around us, the seasons follow a cycle. The tides ebb and flow. The moon follows a cycle. Even within the microcosm of tiny particles, that's what frequency is. It's that rhythm of movement. So everything around us has a cycle and a rhythm to it. And then this shows us the rhythms within us, that we follow a pattern of sleep and then wakefulness, of hunger and then nutrition. There's all sorts of cycles that go through the human body. And even in the more holistic approach, that we follow a pattern of, questioning and then growth and then rest and recovery and then back into that questioning cycle, that is how we have a pattern of growth. And then this becomes apparent within our manifestation because it helps us to trust that divine timing of things, that everything will happen in the timing that it is supposed to. That when we hit points, when we feel like we've aligned everything and we're ready to take those steps, but yet it feels stagnant or like things aren't moving in the direction, that is just part of the cycle before there is large points of progress or movement in the direction that we desire. And so it helps us to trust the timing and understand that everything happens exactly as it is supposed to. And then this leads me into number 12, which is the law of gender, which can be a little bit more difficult to explain, but it has nothing to do with biological sex. This has to do with the two types of energy that exist in the universe, masculine and feminine, yin versus yang. But it is the two types of different energy. The masculine is the more dominant or action-oriented energy, where the feminine is the more receiving and nurturing energy, and that it exists in the universe around us, and they complement and balance each other out. And so when it comes to manifestation, it's this understanding that we need to embrace both types of energy in order to create whatever it is that we desire. That it takes both masculine and feminine in order to have a creation point. So the more feminine side of things would be nurturing what it is that we want and that energy inside of us. And then the more masculine side of things is the more action-oriented, or taking the steps towards whatever it is that we desire. But both are necessary in order to create whatever it is that we are trying to manifest. When you understand these 12 laws, It's essentially like having the playbook on how to utilize the energy within the universe around us. And when you start to look at this world energetically, it gives you an incredible amount of power in order to create any reality that you desire. So with that, I am sending you all so much light and love, and I hope you all stay well, my friends.